Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. Well, we did have a bit of breaking news that happened just a couple hours ago. Hailey Bieber has sold Rhode to Eyes, Lips, Face for $1 billion.
I know. I didn't realize Rhode was worth $1 billion.
I mean, I can see it getting there, but...
So were they... I guess I was confused about the post. Does that mean that she's... Or does that... Is everything staying the same? Like her product-wise?
I don't know either, and that's what makes me nervous.
I know, now that it's going to Sephora, it's going to be all different.
Well, and like, I don't particularly use, do you say e.l.f. or e.l.f? Like, what are we supposed to say?
I say e.l.f.
I do too. But I don't know if that's what you're supposed to.
But it's kind of silly.
I know.
Like e.l.f. makeup.
But that's not a brand that I like go to.
Yeah, me either.
So I wasn't worried about the quality when it was coming to Sephora because there's all kinds of brands, big and small, at Sephora. But now that like this huge conglomerate is taking it over, I just have to be like a little scared that formulations might change or,
I know. I was a little nervous about that too.
But she said she's staying on as the chief creative officer.
Yeah, that's what I saw. So I don't know what all that is going to mean. It kind of reminds me of when Kylie did that, where she sold. So she was 49% and the other people are 51 or something.
Yeah. And then of course people are like, it's because Justin doesn't have any money. Like, I think they're doing okay, guys.
I know. Clearly, if Rhode can be sold for $1 billion.
Like, if that is the case, then like they're 100% set for the rest of their lives. If there was any question before.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like obviously the money part of it is a reason as to why you wouldn't want to do it. But I think like it would be a really big decision to sell something like that when it's your name, your company that you started from, from nothing essentially. And now you're not going to have the full control anymore.
I know. I think that's kind of wild too. Or like, it almost, I don't want to say it feels like a sellout, but it kind of, I don't know how this benefits them or like Rhode. Like, how does this benefit Rhode?
I know, me either. And I mean, I don't think that this brand has been around for such a crazy long time that you would have expected a sell.
I know. Yeah, because when did it start? I'm gonna look it up real fast.
I mean, I would definitely say in the last like 3 to 4 years. I don't think it's been 5. But I could be wrong.
Wow. 2022.
Okay, so yeah, 3 years. I mean, I guess it has grown a lot and she's expanded into a lot of new products and stuff, but it's a big decision to sell the company when it's still pretty much in its, infancy, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know much about that kind of stuff and like what happens with all that.
Yeah, me either. But I guess good for her.
She, she Justin had to play the long game with her, so
Yeah.
he started getting that money.
Everybody was like, oh, she's just with him because of who he is. Oh, really? Now look who's bringing in the cash.
She's a smart
Hailey,
woman.
the tables have turned.
Yes, they sure have.
Um, the only other thing that I really had, and this isn't like a news thing, um, was just about one other movie I had watched based on one of the movies that are on our list today. And that was another Sydney Sweeney film, Voyeurs.
Yeah, I saw that was on there by the same director as Immaculate.
Yeah, I think it's The Voyeurs, actually. Um, yeah, I did you see this one?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
I guess I don't know. I don't think it's one that I would recommend necessarily. Like, I think the concept was interesting, just like voyeurism and being like a peeping Tom and stuff. And so that's basically they're in like a city and they can see through the windows to their neighbors. Like that can be an interesting concept. And we kind of like had that with like the Hitchcock film, like the Rear Window, isn't that one too?
Mhm,
Where they don't they like see a murder across the way?
mhm,
Um, so it's not like a new concept, but just the twists and turns they added to this movie really were interesting. I won't spoil it for you, but it just was like, oh, come on now. Like there were a couple times where I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. But I don't know. Like it just was kind of a typecast role for Sydney Sweeney where she's playing the hot girlfriend, and there's like a little bit more depth to her character just because of her like level of intrigue and with these neighbors and stuff. And
mhm.
she does have to do a couple sex scenes. Um but yeah, I guess after watching Immaculate, I was thinking this was going to be better than what it was.
Yeah.
So it was a little disappointing.
Right. Yeah, if I check it out, we can talk about it more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not one that I would be like, oh, you have to watch it or anything like that. But it was a time killer. Like, it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen in my life or anything.
Mhm.
The one, this is interesting. I don't know why I thought this guy was familiar to me, but I just looked him up and he was in the boyfriend of Sydney Sweeney was in I Saw the TV Glow.
Oh, like Justin Smith?
Justice Smith, yeah.
Justice. Oh. Well, I really liked him in that. Obviously, I've raved about it in a previous episode, but
Yeah, so he's the boyfriend in that movie.
now I'm more intrigued.
I guess that's probably where I just thought that he was familiar because I looked up when you were talking about it, I looked up that movie and looked at the cast because you were talking about him. Because I've never seen any of these other movies that he's in.
hmm I've just seen all the bright places. I think that's the only other thing I've seen him in.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu.
Wait, I think I have seen him in another one.
Now that I bring it up. But yeah, I don't know. It just if you're ever like bored or if it's a rainy day, throw it on. It's not one I would probably watch with the kids around. I would say there's quite a lot of intimacy in this film.
Oh my.
So just
I would like oh, sorry. I would like to see Sydney Sweeney do, I mean, when we talk about Immaculate, we could talk about it more, but I would like to see her do some other stuff.
yeah, I agree. I just feel like yeah, when we talk about Immaculate, like I don't want to step on that whole thing, but when you see her in a lot of her roles, you're like, okay, does she have any depth to her acting? Like, does she have the range? And I guess I would say, like, before Immaculate, I would have really questioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Because she just was in so many of these same type of roles.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously she has like such an unbelievable body that I know it's like kind of hard to not want to put her in these positions where she's like showing it off, and she's clearly very comfortable with doing that after Euphoria and everything. But it does kind of suck, like we talked about before, just being so typecast.
I know. And I think a thing with her too is she looks very young.
Mm.
So it's like she can't quite play, the more mature characters yet either. So I think that limits her a little bit too. Like her face is just so young looking.
I know she's so like doe-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where her career goes in the next, 10, 15 years.
Yes. But she seems like she's very ambitious and wants to work, so.
Oh yeah, she's working all the time. You can't stop her from working. Did you have any topical topics?
Not really. It was just coming off the holiday weekend, so not a whole lot of extra time.
Yeah. I got like a really strange sunburn. I don't know if anybody can see. I got like you can't really see it on here, but like right on my hairline, only one little spot where I didn't like rub my.
I know. So, literally the same thing happened to me, but it was like a little bit more right there. I was like, oopsies.
Because when I'm putting on my tinted moisturizer, I don't always like to get it right up into the hairline.
Yeah, in your hair. I
Yeah.
know. I struggle with that too. It just seems like, or when you get like the tinted face moisturizer, I can't really see where I have put it
Yeah, I
because it kind
know.
of like disappears into my skin.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I feel that way too. And then I'm like trying to bring it down to my neck. I'm like, well, is it
Mm-hmm.
already there? Like I don't
I
even
know.
know.
I know. And then do you still use the why can't I think of what it's called? Super Goop one?
No, I switched to Dr. Jart actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I like
Well,
that Super Goop one.
yeah, that's the one I keep using, but the way it feels even, it's like I can't even feel where I've already put it.
I know,
So it's
literally,
kind of
like
tricky.
the Dr. Jart one too. It's so lightweight, like that it just absorbs immediately. But I will say with that and the Super Goop, like I typically do not get sunburn on my face.
I know. I would actually say I don't even get a tan on my
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
That.
It is shocking when I don't have makeup on.
You're like, oh dear.
I know. But I also was wearing, I mean, it was just the weather was so crappy by us. If you're listening from somewhere, maybe on the West Coast, maybe it was nicer, but over here in Ohio in the Midwest, it was not very good weather. So I didn't like bother too much with sunscreen the one day because it was cloudy and then the sun would come out and then it was windy and it was cold. It was just one of those days. But I had this top on that was kind of like a halter with like a knot and then like a little keyhole. Literally nowhere else on my shoulders, chest, except for right around the knot and the
Keyhole.
what? Like, how did that? Why? Like the weirdest placement ever. I'm like, well, that's lovely. That's going to leave a wonderful tan right in those spots.
I know.
Well, hopefully that's the last sunburn of this season, the first and the last.
I know it's almost like impossible where we live because we go so long without it. That's like you have to get like a one little spot somewhere of burnt.
Well, and when you finally feel the sun, you're like, oh my God, let me just soak it up. My
I
body
know, just
needs
for a
this.
minute. I know,
Yeah.
right?
So, well, and the people that I was with, the sunscreen, and I could have put it on before I left the house. I should have just done that, but they had SPF 70. I was like, well, geez, I'd like to get a little sun exposure here. I'm pretty darn pale, but oh well. Lesson learned. Well, do you want to just like jump into our movies then?
Sure, let's talk about the not very good one, in my opinion, Horse Girl.
I'm so glad you said that.
I mean, I didn't know that much about this movie before we saw that, but I was just trying to find something that was a little different and it was just like, I wish it just would have got a little bit more unhinged. Like, I don't even know what I was watching at that point. Like, there wasn't really anything going on.
I know. I will say our kind of theme for this week was like women who descend into madness.
Yeah.
So all these movies kind of have that going on. And I guess the whole time with Horse Girl, I literally had no idea what was going to happen. Like
No.
there wasn't any, I could not have
And
predicted anything.
and what did happen?
I don't know. I will say, this was directed by Jeff Baena, who was the late husband of Aubrey Plaza. So R.I.P. there. I think like my other thing with this, and I, don't want to be rude, but I just don't really care for Allison Brie that much. I don't know what it is. And just her character in this particular movie was just the type of person that really grinds my gears.
Mm-hmm. I know, I just feel like I mean, just the stuff I've seen her in, I just feel like she always plays an unpleasant character. And and obviously she could be completely lovely in person. But I just like, even in The Happiest Season, which I've seen, I think, a couple times now, she's just so unlikable. And then this was just unlikable. I am intrigued by that movie she's going to be in with Dave Franco,
Oh
though.
yeah.
Together, I think it's called. Like, that's intriguing to me. But I mean, if I end up seeing that and I don't like it, I think I'm just gonna stay away from stuff that she does.
Yeah. I just they're just for me, this movie in general, there was like no real redeeming qualities. Like I just didn't care for it. And like you said, what even happened in this film? Like the whole time I had no idea what was reality and what was her kind of hallucinations or her own strange reality. And I get that that was kind of the point. But it
Right.
just was almost so convoluted that you didn't even like understand what you were watching in a way.
I know because it did have I wish it would have made it more about the friend that had gotten in the horseback riding accident and kind of explored that too for her and like what it meant for her to like be involved with the horses again and maybe had that be which I think it kind of was, but have it be one of the main traumas and kind of exploring that a little bit more instead of having 100 different directions it was going. Like
Yeah, because with that, with the friend, it's like they put that in there, but it was a ways into the movie when that relationship was even introduced. And then
mhm.
it wasn't even clear, is that why she completely stopped writing? Like, you
Right,
know, even the people at the barn were like, you don't own this horse anymore. Like, what brought that to be? Like, there was just a lot
right,
there that we didn't even really know. And then there were really only that one larger scene with that injured friend. And then the other scene at the end of the movie that was like 2 seconds. So it was just kind of, there were a lot of things just thrown in there.
yeah, like why did like we didn't even really need the roommate storyline and like the boy or like the boyfriend situation. We didn't even really need that. And her working somewhere, it's like it just was all over the place. And then the alien thing.
Well,
It's
even
just,
just the random, like her stepdad. What was his name?
yeah.
Carl or something. Like when we were first introduced to him, it was so random. And I was like,
Mhm.
who is this man? Who is this man? And it wasn't until she opened the card and there were like hundreds of dollars in there that I realized, oh, maybe he's stepdad or the dad that's not in
Mhm.
her life or something. Like we didn't, it wasn't even pieced together really who he was. And then after that scene, he's just kind of brought up, but we never
Right.
see him again.
I know. I know. It felt like there's just so many of these characters. Like we got thrown into her life randomly, but then nothing really happened. Like I wish they kind of would have just made her more unhinged. Like even if you did the same exact movie, but made her even more all over the place and stuff, I think it would have just been a more, I don't know, exciting movie to look at. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, because I mean, to kind of give like a really brief synopsis, you brought up the alien thing. Like she keeps having these very strange dreams, and then she kind of puts together, and
Sleepwalks.
yeah, and sleepwalks that she thinks she's a clone of her grandmother, and that aliens are doing this cloning process. And then when she has all those bruises on her, I'm like, was that real? Was that not? I don't. And then she ends up like completely snapping and like being fully unhinged. And she goes to the like a mental hospital. Like it seems like they kind of like 5150'd her basically.
Mhm.
And clearly she's unwell. And even her social worker is like, um, you've been here almost 72 hours. And she says, no, I've only been here one night. And he kind of just gives her like a look,
Oh,
but still discharges her.
I know.
Like it was just very, very odd. And I know that some things, aren't obviously reality in films, but it was just kind of like in the end, when the alien thing ends up being potentially real, I'm like, did I don't know. It's just what we had talked about like previously about like the random paranormal stuff. Like
Right.
I just
Right. Like, am I supposed to suspend my belief? or is this a straightforward thing? And then I was wondering too if she had taken her own life at the end.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, which if so, that's almost
Tragic.
like makes the whole situation with, the director darker.
Right.
Not to go to that place, but it's
It
in the
is it.
air.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so I don't know. There were just a lot of things in that movie I was kind of like, wow, I really don't know what I just watched. Like I didn't even really enjoy it. Like I didn't hate it, but it wasn't a movie where I kind of just wanted to get through it.
Yeah, I just wish there would have been more, I don't know, something or less something. I'm
Yeah,
not sure which.
I know. I did like the situation with the like guy.
Yeah.
Just because and not to like distract my own thought, but in the whole that show Purgatory, that
Yeah.
whole storyline too, like
I know. I know. I almost need like to read an analysis on it or
I know,
something
like
because it
break
was kind of
everything
like,
down.
I know, like, what did that mean? Was that supposed to symbolize that she feels like she's in some kind of a
Yeah,
purgatory because of everything going on around her? Or is her dreaming state her purgatory? Like,
yeah. I don't. Were there a lot of like symbolism in this, or are we literally supposed to just take it for what it is in front of us? But I did what I was going to say before I thought of the purgatory thing was I did like the part with the boy. What was his name? Darren, I
I think
think.
so.
I did like how he's coming off this relationship and then he meets her. He's like, oh, it's just nice to be with somebody who's nice. Like you're a really nice person. And then
Mhm.
we slowly see her descend into madness, literally right before his own eyes, practically, in the
Mhm.
time that they're at dinner and then the couple hours after. But
But then I wondered, like, was some of that actually happening? Like, that's the part I couldn't figure out.
right, me either.
Because then it was kind of like they were kind of hitting it off. And then when she was telling her friend about them, she's like, no, I think like he's my boyfriend. And then I don't know, then it didn't seem like that vibe. But then later on it did. And then it was kind of funny how then I was like, is he even real at all? Because he does have that same name as the character in the show.
And then he like turns into the character in her
Right.
fantasy.
So it's like any of the was any of it real? I don't
Yeah, I think that was just the hardest thing. I mean, because there are some like psychological movies and stuff where somebody is mentally disturbed and they are depicting that on film, but you eventually get an understanding of what is just their delusion or their hallucination or their version of
know.
reality, and then what like the actual version of reality is. But with this, I don't feel like I ever got a good understanding of what the true reality was. I mean, even when she's in the hospital, I was like, is that roommate even real?
Right. I know, that's the thing too. Yeah, when the roommate was kind of somebody else. Um, I know. I just wondered if any of that was real at all. Like just the roommate, her living situation.
Yeah,
Maybe that friend actually passed away on the horse and she
right.
wasn't actually visiting her.
Yeah, like I was so confused. And then to make matters even worse, at the end, when all in her little like dream or hallucination or whatever it was, when she goes to her fabric store and gets that fabric and then is sewing
Yeah.
this weird outfit.
This curtain outfit.
That was just so absolutely hideous. Like, I couldn't even get
You know, it was
over.
crazy. I know. So then I'm just kind of like, was that all her old life?
I don't even know.
And then none of it was actually happening in that moment. She was just reflecting. I literally don't know. And I guess I'd have to watch it again and try to pick up on stuff, but I don't know that I will be.
No, I don't care to watch it again.
Yeah,
I
I was,
did. The other part too that was kind of like we could have explored more was just her relationship at the horse barn too. Like
yeah, especially
clearly
when you
those
call it
people didn't want her there.
right. And just like, yeah, it's like, why didn't they want her there other than her being kind of strange? But I do like that concept because that concept of like the horse girl, she's weird. It
Yeah.
was like we didn't even spend much time with the horse.
No, we didn't. And then even with the one young girl that was riding her horse and stuff, like
I was like
clearly
freaked out by
yeah,
her.
she was really creeped out, didn't want to be around her, didn't want to listen to her
I was like,
analysis of her ride, but like that was something that was it was just there was too much in it for me.
yes, because I think it could have been better if we would have just explored a little bit more of some of those other storylines and took out some of the rest of them.
Yeah.
It does have a 2.9 on Horse Girl, but it mostly got threes.
On
I'm
Letterboxd,
not, yeah, sorry.
well, it has the
I'm not,
72% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. So,
I'll have to read for that later. Yeah, I
and
don't
I
know,
guess
maybe I'm just not smart enough.
well, I know sometimes we feel that
But
way
people
with
love Allison Brie, so that could have something to do with.
yeah, and I guess I just don't I don't like her all that much. I mean, and it wasn't to say like I didn't think that she did a good job acting this role. Like I almost felt like she did too good of a job because I felt like this
Yeah.
is who she really was. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just not like she wasn't a character that I was ever rooting for. Like I didn't feel any sense of like loyalty to this character, or even like a sense of real concern for this character either. It was just too confusing. I didn't even know what to feel really.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely just I think there was a lot of good idea there, but the execution just was a little all over the place for me.
Yeah. I love when you're on Google, you just like Google like a movie or whatever, and then it says like the top questions and stuff. And so there's always one that's like, what is the point of this movie? Like, what
What's their answer?
what does that mean? For this one, it says horse girl under this. Obviously, this is like a much longer thing. Under this interpretation is incredibly valuable for showcasing audience to the extent that we can ever understand someone else's perspective, how it might feel to have a mental illness like schizophrenia, one that alters your understanding of reality. Um,
Okay, I guess that makes the movie make a little bit more sense.
we can believe that Sarah really was abducted and that no one else understands the truth, or we can believe what is the simple answer? Her severe mental illness has made something unreal feel very real to her. Like I can understand that the whole time, but I just felt like the execution was lacking for me.
Yeah.
And I think it could have been cool if it was a bit more clear, like I
Yeah, I
think
think
that's
it
an
could have been like one of
interesting
those. Right, like an unexpected, oh, this is kind of a cool movie that maybe you would revisit again, like as a indie movie.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to explore. Like, of course, something like schizophrenia or anything, any mental illness
I know.
like that is there's a lot to work with there.
Right, and I guess now that I'm thinking about it, it is kind of cool now that there's a little more clarity on this. Um, it was nice to see them make her character like nice instead of making her this kind of like villain, like a
Yeah.
lot of the times a lot of movies do with severe mental illness and stuff. So I guess that was kind of like a cool thing that they did there.
Yeah, it just didn't fully land for me
No.
personally. So,
Maybe if I would have I know, and then sometimes when, like we've talked about this before, when you go into a movie completely blind, you're not looking for those things.
but it is like I think that the undertone of it was that she was struggling, like her mental illness
Mhm.
was coming out. Like clearly that's what her
Right,
grandmother had. Like that was kind of under the surface there. It was just how they were showing it to us visually was what made
right,
it really confusing as to like, wait, is this supposed to be like a real paranormal movie, or is it that she is just hallucinating all this?
right.
But I mean, I guess I appreciate when people want to do something different. It just for me, this one didn't land. So,
Yes. Yes.
um, do you want to go on to Immaculate because we already kind of talked about it a bit?
Sure. So this movie, um, I actually found this movie a little triggering,
I
or a lot of
wasn't.
triggering.
Yeah, I wasn't like expecting what happened to be the basis of this film. Like I really again went in totally blind. Like I've seen this on Hulu so many times, like that it's there, but I never clicked on it or anything like that. So I was quite surprised when she was with child
Mhm.
and
Well,
then
I knew the ending because I have been had my eye on this movie for a while, and I thought I was never gonna be able to see it, and so I had watched when like, back when it came out, some of my YouTubers were talking about this movie, so I knew the ending, but I didn't know how we got there or anything, and I knew she had been working on this for a long or, like, involved with this project for a really long time and stuff, but I didn't know how we got up to that point.
yeah. Yeah, basically she's a young girl who decides to join a convent in Italy and so she's there and things are seemingly normal and then kind of strange things start to occur with some of the other nuns or sisters that are there, and then she kind of has some like strange dreams or visions too. And it turns out that some of the people within the convent were artificially inseminating the some of the sisters to try and be like the second coming of Mary, basically.
Mhm, and they were just experimenting, and it almost seemed like they would only do each girl once, because then they were basically, like, ruined, which is
Yeah,
just that was a really interesting kind of commentary in a
yeah.
way.
Well, I mean, on the Catholic Church and everything, like
And the patriarchy.
yeah, it was just yeah, really, there was a lot. I felt like for me, it wasn't like I felt really triggered by like, oh, because we went to Catholic school, or like we did not experience anything to that
Right.
level or anything like that. But when the second, well, I guess it was kind of the last third of the movie, the third act, as they say, when she's like in active labor and then having to escape from this psycho who I don't even, I mean, he was one of the priests there and he's the
Hmm.
one that's been doing these insane experiments. Like that was so difficult to watch. Like, and that for me was where I was like, okay, Sydney Sweeney does have some range here because she
Yeah.
was not looking pretty in a lot of those scenes and she was really just going for it.
She was, yeah, because like in the beginning of the movie, she's like kind of playing this like kind of naive, like gentle person. And I wasn't fully, I don't want to say I wasn't buying it, but it almost felt like a little cheesy. But then as it goes on, and she starts to become like a prisoner in her own body and is forced to do this thing, she really goes there, I feel like.
Yeah.
And even there's a not, this one time when I was very, very pregnant with my second, and my oldest had taken off running um just with one of his step cousins, and I was getting, sometimes you just get a thing in your head, anxiety that something's going to happen to them, and he started running way far ahead of me, and it was toward a parking lot, blah 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 blah, but I was trying to get to him, but I couldn't run because of the
You
gigantic
were
baby in my
so
stomach.
pregnant.
So pregnant, and I just like, it literally gave me like I don't know if it was like a fully an anxiety attack or a panic attack, but I was so upset. It just, that feeling of not being able to defend yourself and being that vulnerable in your own body and that defenseless was so horrifying to me. And I really feel like this movie captured that. And I mean, I was getting like that feeling all over again when I
Oh
was watching
no.
it. And just like that defenselessness, because it's like at the end when she's fighting off that guy, and it's like actively having contractions and being in active labor and trying to fight this guy off, and just knowing that you're not really going to be able to, even though she obviously does fight till the end or whatever, but she isn't going to be able to, like, that's just, and even as a woman you might not be able to anyway, but then with that extra burden,
That
especially
you
for
didn't
her,
even ask
physical
for
burden.
or agree to.
Yeah, it's like this physical burden that she's stuck with, and then she has to try to fight everything off.
Yeah, that's
I thought she did a really good job.
when you mentioned you having to go running, the scene where I guess it was like relatively early in her pregnancy when she tries to escape and she's like in the car, and
Yeah.
when they realize that she lied and she like runs out of the car and is running as fast as she can, but they still keep up with her. I was like, how are you running? Like, obviously, she doesn't have an actual baby in her belly. And she
Right.
wasn't like, 8 months pregnant there, but it still was like that, just that thought is
I
so,
know.
and just the fervor in her that she wanted to escape so bad.
Right. Right, it's like she was trying so hard, and you have that adrenaline and everything, but it's
Mhm.
still not enough.
Yeah, and then the most kind of jarring part of the movie is certainly the ending where she finally does escape. Thankfully, she is free on her own, and then she realizes this. I've been in active labor this entire time. Like this baby needs to be born, And she just like, I've never seen Sydney Sweeney look that raw.
I know, and just that shot was so long.
Yeah, it was just so intense, like that moment.
I know, that was such a cool shot, just like that super long, right on her face, and her just like screaming.
Screaming, so primal. And then, I mean, if that wasn't enough, then she births this very deformed baby. But I mean, it's really almost more of like a creature because of the the experimental practices that these people have been doing. Like, and she has to make the difficult choice of what to do with what she just birthed. And it
Hmm.
doesn't show us that, but it we hear.
We know what's
Yeah,
happening.
we know what's
Yeah,
happening.
and I wondered too, just if it literally was like a deformed thing, or if that's the way she viewed it because her autonomy was taken from her.
Yeah,
Not
that's
that
true.
it, I know, not that I guess that it really matters. And that's like one of the other things about movies that's so interesting. It's like, was this like a metaphor of evil that she, was forced to have this baby, and there's like a lot of talk about that now in our politics and stuff.
Mhm.
And so she saw it as an evil entity, or if it was like a fine baby. And again, it doesn't matter. She could still have done what she wanted to with it. But I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is an interesting thought of just a different way that evil can rear its head, like,
Hmm.
and then if it is more of a metaphor for something else, or just how like women in general don't have all the freedoms that we believe that we should have and stuff like that, like it is, you can go deep with it, and it just makes you think about the whole thing differently. But then if you still just take it again for
It
like
has
what
the
it
face
is,
value, right?
yeah,
It
it's
could have been a
still,
demon baby.
yeah, and it is still like a powerful movie, still like with a message that is still clear cut.
Yeah, I will say too, just since it was a horror movie, um, the jump scares kept getting me, even though they were kind of cheap ones. Like I knew
Yeah,
they were coming, and every time they got me. So I would say, like, even though and there was like quite a bit of scary imagery too,
yeah,
like, and some like pretty, I would say pretty decently graphic gore in this as well.
yeah. I enjoyed this movie. Like, it was different from what I expected, and like you said, from being like a horror thriller, like I was impressed by it. That's why, like I said at the top of this episode, I watched this one, and then I'm like, oh, Voyeurs, like they're the same director, both Sydney Sweeney. This is interesting, and then it was completely different. Like this, like Immaculate just felt very like packaged, like everything to me was
Yeah.
very clear and pulled together. And then Voyeurs was just more so like all over the place, and not as clean, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely felt like this one had like, you could have took this movie at like face value, like this is exactly what's happening to this nun and all these things that are happening there. But then it also had like this, and you could even do too like the religious part of it, and like the ideologies there. And then you could also look at it as a societal thing too, with like even when she's in the doctor or like they're doing their own doctorate. That also gave me anxiety too.
Yeah.
When she was like getting in the doctor's office and she's like, no, like I need to go to a real doctor. Like this isn't fair. And her just like not getting listened to by any of these medical professionals that they had there. And
Yeah.
that's like a huge thing happening now with that. And just like the other women kind of like fighting her and like wanting to be that special thing, and how like society can also make us do that to each other. Like I do think there was kind of a lot here. I also wanted to point out too that I felt like they could have very easily with Sydney Sweeney done like this sexual nun thing, and I actually think they did, and I don't know if it was purposeful or what, but did a lot to, even if she was like in the water and just like a sheer gowns, like it wasn't a super graphic thing.
I agree, and it didn't feel
Exploitative or
it
anything.
didn't feel so sexual or anything like that. It felt just like it felt very normal. And I think maybe because they were in a convent and it was around, pretty much only other women the whole time. Like maybe that
Mhm.
was kind of a different vibe because,
Mhm.
you're not so concerned about the male gaze in a situation like that. And I think that transferred to the screen. Um, but yeah, there were just a lot of layers in this movie, but they all really worked well together. And they all felt like pieces of the puzzle.
They did. Yeah, I was definitely pleasantly surprised at this movie. And
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney, like that last act or whatever you want to say, like she did really good, and I would love to see her really get into some good roles.
Me too, where she really just can like push herself and do more of like the drama. Even, I mean, like another movie like this that's kind of like a psychological thriller horror movie. Like I can see her in a role like that now.
I know. I did also want to point out that I thought the setting was really pretty, and I liked that it kind of had like this gloomy
Yeah, the lighting.
weather. I really liked
Yeah,
that too.
yeah,
And then
I liked it.
I know, remember when we stayed at a convent thing before?
Yes, I do. Oh, we'll bring that up again when we went to Kairos. And much like the women in this movie, we were also forced into things that we didn't necessarily want to do.
I know. I think, sometimes when I watch like these, because we've mentioned many times before that we've been in Catholic schools our entire life, I do kind of get, I don't even know what it is, like not defensive a little bit, but even like at the start of this movie, I'm like, here we go, perpetuating
Yeah,
this stereotype. But then also, I love to see the imagery.
me too. And I think it's like when we compare maybe our Catholic school experience to some other people's, or like the horror stories that you hear
hmm
from other people online or whatnot, we did not have that kind of experience.
Right.
So when movies or shows or whatever are like pushing really hard into certain stereotypes or tropes with, I guess, religion in general, but in our instance, like Catholicism, it really does just feel like, okay, eye roll, like,
hmm
of course they're gonna try and blow this out of proportion or whatever. But it is interesting because obviously to be a priest or to be a nun, you are extremely restricted on what
Mhm.
you're able to do. And many of the choices that are made in your life from that point of when you commit on are made for you, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and that's just the reality. And like certain things, like when we went to Kairos, it's like, it really, I mean, I don't want to be dramatic and say this, but some things do feel like manipulation tactics, you know?
No, they for sure do. And I think it's interesting too, like because priests and nuns are in film so much and being portrayed. And it's like, but we've actually been around these
Yeah,
people. And it is kind of like when you are around them, there is this weird sense of like they're a different type of person than you are. Like it is kind
yeah,
of like a weird, like you it's almost like what it like if you see a celebrity or something, but like different, but you can just tell there's something different about the way they live and stuff. And they just
yeah,
have like this different type of energy coming off of them.
yeah. It's very, very different. That's for sure. Very unique. Yeah, there always is some vibe that's just,
Uh, I know I don't want to
you
say
can
it's
always
off, it's
detect it.
different. Yeah, it's just like so different. But yeah, I definitely feel like this movie touched on that, like, even if it's not just Catholicism, but just religion in general. And I feel like this really kind of like touched on that a little bit and like the way the men were, in charge of the women's bodies and they had all this say in what happens to them and everything. So, and then just this basically they wanted this virginal birth again, and just like the way religion treats virginity and everything. I mean,
Well, and just the fact too of like it it has to be what the men decide. You know, like,
mhm,
oh, they decided that they're going to experiment with this girl, or like they
mhm,
choose the right girl. And it's just
mhm.
how much power they have, which is so, I think, is a really interesting thing about like the Catholic Church too. There's so many rules about, I guess, the hierarchy kind of within the
Right, like we
church.
don't have a female pope,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
a woman will never be allowed to be in that role unless they change the rule, you know? Like it's
Right.
just, so it's that's just a whole thing too. And then obviously, like we said, it can be just about, you know, the world in general and the patriarchy and whatnot. But yeah, it's there's just a lot to unpack here. But different from Horse Girl, where everything does fit together and
Right,
everything,
like I get it.
yeah, it does all make sense and it all does feel purposeful to me.
Yes. Yeah, and if I don't I mean, I guess I don't really understand like what producing is as far as a movie, but it's kind of cool to see that, or from what I've heard, that Sydney Sweeney did have a big hand in this and maybe even had a little bit of a hand in updating the script too. So, and I think it not coming out when it was supposed to and coming out, and I think in 2024, I think it came out in.
Yeah, I had it pulled up.
Um,
You're right.
I think that was a great time for it to come out.
Yeah, well, and I clocked that same thing that she had a producer credit on there. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it definitely, you can tell that while so much of the movie is from the male perspective, you can tell that like a female lens was also put on it. Um,
Hmm.
and that just made it kind of, I don't know, it gave it more depth too, I think. But
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it.
I was going to say this movie was also quite short, but to me it didn't feel like super short. It was just about an hour
No.
and a half. And
No,
on,
it was paced pretty well, I thought.
I thought so too. I'm looking up the rankings of this one. Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 71 and a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Well, I mean, it's for a horror movie with commentary, I think it's pretty good. Is it like my favorite movie that I'm going to be rewatching all the time? No, but I think
No.
it paired really well with one of the other movies that we watched too. Like it was kind of a good double feature. So I definitely could see maybe in at some point watching that as a double feature with something else, especially with it being shorter.
Yeah, and I mean I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good overall. I was impressed by the acting. The whole story made sense. There were of course a few things in there that were a bit unrealistic or whatever, like when
Oh,
she, tried
sorry.
to seemingly uh burned the priest and then all
Yeah,
of a sudden he's back. It's like, okay, now are we
I
saying
know
that
that.
he's the devil then? Like what?
Right, I know. That part kind of took me out of it a bit because I'm like, "There's no way." And then all of a sudden, you're there and you hear this fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Are you
I'm
freaking
like,
kidding me?
well, I think
I know.
his
I'm
time
like,
had
I just don't.
passed for the fire
Right, and like
extinguisher
the smoke inhalation alone, what a
taking him out.
fight. So
Yeah,
that part was a little crazy, but yeah, maybe it was supposed to stand for it's like you could try to stop the patriarchy, but
you can't. Yeah, I
still,
know.
you're just not powerful enough. Oh, I did want to point out too, I thought the part where the one woman or the one nun was trying to speak or like was speaking her mind, and then later we saw her tongue getting cut.
Mm,
That was that was a cool kind of metaphor thing too. Like,
yeah, that was a difficult one to see. And
I
then of
know that
course
was,
Sydney Sweeney's character she peeks in and sees that, and that's where she's like completely horrified and like, I need to
mm-hmm,
get out of here. Something is wrong.
mm-hmm. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just want to bring that was a cool scene.
Yeah, that was a good one. So, well, should we transfer over to Black Swan?
Sure, which I've definitely seen several times, but it has been a while.
You know what, Hannah, I have as well, but it's definitely been a handful of years since I've seen this movie.
Yeah, because
And
it's
I was just,
streaming just didn't exist.
yeah, and I don't know, I liked the movie. Like the first time I saw it, I remember being like, oh, that was really good, but like it wasn't one that I felt the need to revisit, like constantly. But I kind of forgot how much of a body horror this movie is.
Yeah,
I mean, I remembered like the
the
transition
stuff,
into the swan and stuff like that,
right, in
but
the
like a lot of the
hangnail.
but like those were worse than I remembered them. Like that really
Yes.
gets me. And just like other things, like even when like Natalie Portman's character, she has this very complicated relationship with her mom, and her mom's always trying to get into her room, and when she like smashes her mom's hand in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were just so many little things that I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what place I was in the first time I saw this, but I was
I
in
know.
a different place now where a lot of that stuff really kind of affected me.
I know. I just so distinctly remember that hangnail thing. I'm like literally rubbing my
Yeah,
head right now
I
because it's so good.
know.
But I know it kind of reminded me of The Substance with that. I mean, it obviously wasn't nearly as intense, but I was like, wow, this is like kind of, I don't want to say same level, but and
It's
it's like
it's pretty
saying
darn
something different,
close.
but it was kind of like getting there. I'm like, wow, I agree. Was forgot about just even when she was like scratching, like self-harming herself and the
Yeah.
way that ends up transforming, as it keeps going on.
Well, and even the part with Winona Ryder where she's in the hospital and then she has that
Mhm.
nail file. Like, I forgot about that part
Yeah.
entirely, and I was like, "Oh my god," like, I literally think I put my hand to my face, like, I could not even believe, like, I was
Is
shocked.
this is this movie classified as a horror thriller, or is it just
It is classified as a horror drama.
Mm, okay, that makes sense. Because I guess I didn't know that it was actually considered horror, but as I was watching, I'm like, "Oh, this definitely is horror."
Yeah, like, it makes sense, I mean, how yeah. It was on this watch, I'm like, it absolutely is a horror, but the first, like, because I think the first time, because this came out in 2010. Actually,
Mhm.
did we see this in theaters?
See, I don't know if we went into the theaters and saw we m or we got it right away when it came
Yeah.
out. Because I know we had watched it together at one point,
Yeah,
but
me
then I had seen
too.
it other times too, but I don't remember why or when.
Yeah, I can't recall either, but I know that we did see it together. So that it came out in 2010. Um and I don't know, I mean, we were just kind of getting towards the end of high school, and then I know I saw it another time in college, and I guess just like seeing it now, it just really hits differently, or maybe it's just because I'm thinking about movies in a different way now than I was back then. But yeah, this one was really, like, it's a really good movie, but it does hit pretty hard.
I know, I was gonna say, I feel like it really holds up, actually, and I know it's not, like,
Yeah,
that old, but I'm like, "Oh, this held up," like, the story and everything, and, um, just the way they looked, and I think the casting, like, Natalie Portman, it was kinda cool to see her and I know sh I'm not that I watch all her movies, and I know she's done, like, different things, but this was just a really fun, unhinged role for her.
totally. While me I was watching it, I had to look up, like, how old is she supposed to be in this movie, because you just don't really know, because she's
Yeah,
treated
because
like.
she's very mentally stunted
Yes,
or,
and
like, emotionally.
obviously she looks very young, but then she's treated like a literal child by her mother, and
Mhm.
so and she kind of acts very childish too, and like very naive. So you really don't know what her age is supposed to be, but when I looked it up, it said like late 20s, early 30s would be the age of like a prima ballerina.
Mhm.
So, she's supposed to be like a full adult. And I
Yes, and I
just
think
have to,
that's
oh, sorry. I was just
I
going
was
to
just gonna
say,
say
you go.
the lag. I was just gonna say, I think that's about how old she was when she was in it anyway, but
Yeah, she was about 30. That's what I was going to say. And so is Mila Kunis.
mhm,
They're like this, they were born in the same year, I think.
mhm.
Um,
I I was just gonna say, I remember watching I felt like there was so much press with this movie, and there was so many behind the scenes thing, like, talking about her dancing, and then the other girl that was, like, her stunt dancer or whatever, and then just even the styling of this, and when they were talking about how, like, when she finally starts embodying and, like, giving into the Black Swan, then
yeah,
she starts wearing more grays and blacks compared to when she was, more naive and not being as risky, and she wears pinks and the light
yeah,
grays, and
yeah. There was an outrageous amount of press for this movie, I recall. I mean, it was
and they
so
made it
big.
and I just remember having, like, E! News on and stuff, and them just showing clips of, like, Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis making out.
Well,
It was,
and
like, everywhere.
they were so, I mean, Mila Kunis could not get hotter in this movie. Like,
I
I
know, this
don't
was
even
her
think it's possible.
prime. Like, she and even when I was watching it, I'm like, they're so skinny, but they looked so good. And maybe that's like a tox.
I know. The only time that I thought you could really see how thin Natalie Portman was when you would see her from the back. You could
Yeah.
like just see her shoulder blades. And I know that they did use some, CGI and stuff for the swan kind of
Stuff,
transformation.
right.
So some of the things you're like, is that exaggerated? Like you don't really
Right.
know. But yeah, like even throughout, like I know Mila Kunis lost weight for that too, but I never thought that she looked as thin as Natalie Portman did. But I suppose that was also purposeful because Mila Kunis's character was like the
Less dedicated. Yeah.
yeah, but still an amazing ballerina. Like she's the
Right.
carefree one, and there's Natalie Portman who's like wound like a freaking ball of yarn, and she's
Mm-hmm.
so obsessed with her roles. I wanted to also say I just looked up box office. Do you want to guess what it says the budget for this movie was?
I have
It's
no
lower
idea.
than I imagined.
10 mil?
Close, 13. And would you like to guess how much it grossed
I
worldwide?
don't even I don't even know.
329 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so I mean, like I said, that's why sometimes the press works. 'Cause
Oh
they
yeah.
had those girls out there and they were pressing it and they were looking gorgeous and they
Yeah.
were talking.
And it said
Good
it
for
was
them.
released December 3rd. So it
Oh, that's a good
was,
time.
yeah, like that Christmassy time. It probably stayed in theaters through the holidays because
Hmm.
movies just did back then. They were in theaters for ages. Um, and yeah, I mean, how can you even, like, I can't even comprehend that success. Like $13 million budget and you made over $300 million.
I know, like that's some wicked, wicked
Yeah,
Minecraft
that's
numbers.
insane. Also, this was a Darren Aronofsky film, which
Hmm.
we can recall him for dating Jennifer Lawrence at one time.
Yes, we can. And I believe this is when Natalie Portman met her husband on this set,
That's
and
what I
then
thought
they've
as
since
well.
divorced.
Yeah,
Mm. He was
because
like, it
at
had something
first,
to do with the dancing, didn't he? Like he was the instructor.
yeah, because at first I was like, oh, she was with Darren Aronofsky, and then I remembered, no, like I'm getting them mixed up.
Hmm.
Oh look, yeah, yeah, he's a French dancer and choreographer.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was something like. Didn't Darren Aronofsky? Did he direct Mother too?
Yes, he did.
So he loves himself. He loves putting women through through it.
Through it. Yes,
Psychological.
yes, he does. That's for
I
sure.
did, you know, the parts, like the erotic parts of the film.
Yeah.
I remember being like, oh man, like scandalized. But on this rewatch and being older and watching it, it's so because it almost seemed like before it was like, oh, of course, like this is just kind of gratuitous, but it
Yeah,
actually
girl on girl.
really works with the movie and her character. And I actually think that was really I don't want to say important in the movie, but it kind of is. Like it's like her letting go and like embracing her femininity instead of being like so young and girlish and stuff.
Well, I agree. And I even thought, now I have never been a dancer, so I can't say I know, and I don't know anybody who's at this kind of level either, but even the parts with her instructor where
Yeah.
they're having that like very candid conversation, and of course he's like crossing lines in multiple ways, but where he's like do you, just to be explicit here, but do you touch yourself? And she's kind of like very taken back by it, but he's like, you need to do that because you need to loosen up. Like, I could legitimately see that being a real conversation that is had.
Right. And yeah, right. And it's like in the movie, he obviously crosses the lines too much, but
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like,
Yeah, I know. And especially when you see her dancing versus Mila Kunis's character.
right. Who's very more liberated
Yeah,
and,
very, very free with her body, and like
hmm
it shows in her dancing, and that like she gives that quality. And then when the instructor, Natalie Portman, is working on some of the stuff with the male dancers, and the instructor's like, well, he's more graphic than this, but he says like, would you sleep with her? And
hmm
the male dancer's kind of like, he's
no.
like, yeah, well, that's a no. Of course you wouldn't. It's like, oh, because she's so rigid.
Right. I know. And even just like her fantasizing about being with Mila Kunis, it's kind of an interesting dynamic too between the two women where I don't think she actually had desire to be with her, but she
Yeah.
desired to be her and be more like her. And it just kind of was like a manifestation of that.
Well, and it just adds to the obsession that she had too.
Hmm
She wants to be like her. She thinks that she's coming for her role. She can't like
hmm
escape that kind of feeling. And that's where, like, if we're comparing, this movie with kind of their um hallucinations to like Horse Girl, obviously they're very different in many ways, but in just the way that the hallucinations are shown, like in Black Swan, it does become clear after the fact, like, oh, that wasn't real. Like when she has
Right.
that dream about Mila Kunis, and then she's like, I went home last night. Like, what are you talking about? Did
hmm
you have a dream about me? Like, you realize that that wasn't the reality, and you can see on Natalie Portman's face that she realizes that wasn't reality too. But in like Horse Girl, we never really got a good
Get that clarity.
understanding. Yeah.
Right. No, I definitely. Yeah. And it's like we even see Natalie Portman really struggling with her own delusions and seeing herself and other people, and
Yeah.
almost like she is her own worst enemy, even though she's kind of seeing the manifestation. And I like to with Winona Ryder's character, where it's like talking about how she's aged out of her beauty, and then Natalie Portman comes in this young thing,
Yeah.
and I liked how they kind of did that too. And even when Natalie Portman steals or takes some of Winona Ryder's things, like she's like, "No, I want to be her and embody
Yeah.
her."
Just that obsession was starting very early.
Mhm.
I will say too, when I was in college, I minored in journalism, and for one of our projects, we had to, write. We were paired up and had to like write a story and a big piece and stuff. And so my partner and I, did ours on my college's production of Swan Lake, and they
Mhm.
had a CCM, the College Conservatory of Music, but they had like a really strong ballet program. And we would be there like interviewing the dancers, filming the dancers, taking pictures, all these things for our um, piece. And I will say, just speaking to a life of a dancer, obviously I'm talking about a college level, and these men and women were in an actual company. But when we interviewed some of the dancers, like it was actually so heartbreaking because some of them were like, yeah, I've danced my whole life. I auditioned to get into, this company, this company, this company. They rejected me. Like I couldn't get in. So that's why I'm still here in college, and they told me to wait another year, and I don't know what to do because I keep getting older, and I know there's a time limit, like an age limit on these things. So like those pressures, of course, seeing it in this movie, it was much more just enhanced. But like
Right.
it is real.
Right. I know, and I even like too that because we always hear about like the ballet dancers' feet and stuff, and it really took the time to put that in there and just the toll it takes on their bodies. And yeah, I definitely feel like this movie really kind of captures that.
Yeah. I mean, and you can, like, I think this out of all the movies that we watched this week, this one to me, it seems like such a plausible thing that could happen, where like you've worked your whole life up until that point to get here where you are the prima ballerina, the lead dancer in this big production, and just the pressures and the anxieties and the fears that you have really would drive you a little bit
Oh,
insane.
mad. Yeah, you
Yeah,
would just go and yeah, because even when she, has that big party night and she oversleeps and she comes in and she's just gutted. Like
yeah,
and he's like, go warm up. And you can just see she's just so depressed. And then the night before when she's trying to keep working, and she's just literally losing her mind and overdoing it, and people keep telling her like you just take a little bit of rest, like you need this for your time, and then she finally gets to do the thing she's always wanted, and it's almost like she was okay with dying
yeah.
because she had completed that. She's like, I did it, I was perfect.
It was perfect. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was just, oh, the other layer I was going to talk about, which we touched on a little earlier, but just like even the relationship with the mom, too. Like
Mm-hmm.
how she used to be a ballerina. And so she's kind of in a weird way, like living
Mm-hmm.
vicariously, but also wanting to protect her so fiercely that
Right.
it's like deranged almost. And to the point where Natalie Portman has to get a bar to put between
Keep her.
her door and the
I know.
walls to stop her mom from coming in.
I know some of those scenes were so unsettling too, where
Yeah.
she like grabs her daughter, she's topless, and the mom is sitting there cutting her nails with those
Mm.
scissors, are just like giving me the
Which
heebie-jeebies right
I
now.
hate. I hate that.
Oh. And you're just hearing that clipping
Yeah.
noise, and it was like even stuff like that so invasive. And then there's
Yeah.
obviously that other scene where she is exploring her body and looks over and the mom's there. I mean, and just like the horror of her and just knowing that the mom sat up all night, like watching her sleep. And that was a really, just super interesting thing. Just making that a part of it, like this unhealthy relationship and emotionally incestuous relationship with her mother.
But the way it just completely makes sense and fits
It
into the
does.
character.
I know it really, like, I feel like this movie, there's just so many good parts and everything matters. Like
Yeah.
every little moment like that is matters.
Yeah. It's definitely one that you can watch, time and time again, and it does hold up. I think it still is a great movie, even 15 years later, like it's just good. Like it
I
really
know it
is
truly
just
is
good.
good. Like
Yeah,
it's just a great movie. She deserved the Oscar.
yeah, absolutely. It deserved all the accolades. It was a good one.
It was. And I just even the like just the city setting and the beautiful studio was just beautiful and the dressing
Yeah,
room was beautiful and it just all that was just so good to look at.
yeah. It was a even though some weird things were happening throughout, it was a very visually appealing movie.
I know. And obviously her transformation into the actual
Oh,
swan, like those
so
scenes were
good.
so just chef's kiss. Like
I
it's just so,
know.
and even that when it's like so unhinged like that, like her literally like legs bending backwards and becoming
That
this.
was a tough one to look at too.
It's just so like I love that it just went there.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
It was, I mean, a great movie. Like
It
really
really
freaking
was.
good. Yeah. So and just since I've said the scores on the other ones, this one has an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 8 out of 10 on IMDb. So it's the highest rating thus far. For
Yeah,
good
I'm pretty
reason.
sure Letterbox is pretty good too. It's
Yeah.
just good. Like it's
Yeah,
just
it's
good.
just like it's the kind of movie I don't really have notes on, it's just
No, just
enjoyable. It keeps
good.
you guessing, it keeps you
I know.
engaged. It's just a good
And I
film.
just love how feminine it is. Like just
Mhm.
it's so visually feminine and sometimes I don't know. I just love it.
I
And
like
and the other thing I want to bring up last thing, I love that like Winona Ryder, Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis all kind of look alike. Like it
Mhm.
just was all like that was just such a cool
Yeah,
thing.
they're all distinctly different, but they all still have like some quality about them or some features that do give them a look, a similar look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I thought that was
interesting.
super cool. Like I
Good
think like if
casting again.
so good. I know because if you would have even made like I don't even know, like some other blonde actress or something that played one of them, like it just wouldn't they either all had to be blonde or they all had,
Yeah,
like it just that was just a really cool visual thing as well.
yeah, yeah, great one. So that brings us to our last movie, which was more of a some comedic relief.
Comedy. Yes.
Yeah, but still, the descent into madness is
I know I
real in
got
this
one.
one.
Yeah.
This was One of Them Days, which just came out semi recently, and it's the comedy drama with comedy buddy, a buddy comedy.
Yeah, I thought it was probably a buddy comedy, which is kind of like I just when I think of two women, because there's like obviously a lot of movies where two women are like just being like this, but I never think of to call it like a buddy
Buddy
comedy. I
comedy. I
always
think
think of
that's
like
so
two,
male driven.
yeah.
Yeah. But this is with SZA and Keke Palmer, which I think their chemistry is off the charts.
Yeah,
Like
that was
they were so freaking good together. And I remember seeing some of the press for this and some of like the behind the scenes stuff. And they were like, yeah, we just like instantly clicked, like there was no
mhm.
doubt about it. And you can tell.
I know. Yeah, they were really dynamic together. Both of them they were just funny and cute. And I did want to point out the hair, makeup, and clothes were so good. I
Well,
mean,
you
they
know what? It's so
looked
funny though, because like Keke Palmer's hair at the beginning of the movie, I was like, "Hmm, I, I don't want to. I mean, I'm the last person to be judging a weave, but this does not look good." And then it's like, what, 15, maybe even 20 minutes in, where you realize that he only half did it. He didn't
yeah.
dip her ends in the boiling water and all this stuff. And that's why it actually was made to look so bad.
Hmm.
Like, I like that. That was very like thoughtful.
I know, and it was just kind of funny to have that in there, like, "Oh, it's not finished yet."
I know, but I would agree with
But
you, like, the styling just it looked great.
I know. It reminds me of one of those movies that like, if you're watching Mean Girls, it's like the outfits are their own character the whole
Yeah.
time, and that is what this reminded me of, like, I could see myself putting it back on to see the clothes and the hair and the makeup because their skin was, like,
Well, and the
flawless.
I know. And the way that, like, when they need the new clothes at the blood bank,
Yeah.
and the way that then they're basically in those outfits for the rest of the movie,
Mhm.
and they're so nonsensical and just silly, but they
Impractical.
totally, like, make sense with everything else that's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, this movie, it certainly wasn't, like, wonderful,
Amazing. Right.
but it was genuinely funny. Like, when it was over,
Right.
I was like, "That was a cute movie." Like, I
I know, like, it
enjoyed
was
it a lot
entertaining
more.
the whole time.
Yeah, and I really didn't know, even when I saw some of the little snippets of it ahead of time, like, I really didn't know what I would think of it. And until you put it on our list, I don't know if I would have, like, jumped to watch it, but I'm glad
Right.
that I did because it was just a fun movie.
It was a fun movie. Yeah, it's just like a girly, fun, silly movie, and it's just kinda like, I feel like comedies have kind of been trickling back in, and
Well,
this one was just kinda like, and I know there's, like, some violence in it, but it was just kinda like good, clean fun, like, there wasn't anything offensive in it, we didn't have to, like, tear people down, and, like, the villains were kind of funny, like, there was a girl villain, and
yeah, she was freaking hilarious.
it was.
I will say they just kinda had this conversation on the town about, like, comedies and
Mm,
can we get comedies the way we used to? Like with The Hangover or something of the like. It's like, is that even possible to go there and to get that? Because, well, they were talking to a comic, and they're like, is like with the way that so many people are doing all their own specials and streaming all this stuff or whatever, like, you're not necessarily seeing as many just straight up comedy movies
mhm.
anymore like you used to. Like, we just, and I think that's just true. Like, it felt like back in the like 2010s, we were just getting thrown comedies
Teen
like this
comedies, I know,
left
teen
and right.
comedies all the time.
Yeah, so this was fun to have something like that kind of back.
I know, and like I said, nobody was being cruel, it was just like the joke wasn't at somebody else's expense.
It was just a joke,
Yeah,
like, in
exactly.
general. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I mean, this general plot, I guess, is SZA and Keke Palmer are roommates. SZA has this crappy boyfriend who steals their rent money, and then the whole movie is about them trying to get that back and the chaos that ensues when it all needs to take place before Keke Palmer's job interview at like 4 o'clock. So they kept having like countdown on the screen too of like 8 hours till eviction,
Mhm.
and all this stuff, which it was just like, I don't really have anything else to say about it besides it was just comical. Like, it's not that a type of movie that you take super, super seriously. However, some of the things within it were serious, like the
Mhm.
ramifications of getting evicted, having a
Right.
crappy landlord. Like, there's
I
all
know,
like,
and just trying to, like, right, and just struggling to make ends meet
yeah.
and,
Yeah, like
just
Keke Palmer had a monologue in there about like, well, maybe supposed to just live paycheck to paycheck. Like maybe this is all there is, and I'm
Mhm.
not meant to do more than that, and I should stop striving for it. Like that's so relatable. So we got little
Mhm.
pieces like that thrown in to some just good old fashioned comedy.
Mhm. I wonder if we'll see SZA in anything again.
I thought she was good. What did you
I
think?
know, I did like, even there, because I was just kind of, like, really paying attention to her because I've never seen her really act before,
Mhm.
and even when it was just moments where, like, Keke Palmer was talking and she was maybe, like, grabbing a wine glass or
Yeah,
something, it just all looked really believable and authentic, and I didn't feel like she was overdoing it or anything, and it was just I was really pleasantly surprised, and I think them having chemistry off scene just really translated.
yeah, I was super impressed by SZA, and especially I don't even think that Keke Palmer has to try to be like a good actress. I think that she just is.
Just natural, right,
Yeah, but like it's also very easy to kind of be outshined by her. But SZA really
right.
held her own, and it just felt like they were actually working together as a
I
team.
know, and I think it helped too that they both kinda like, their each character had their own personality, like, they weren't just
Yeah.
the same character, and I think that that really worked, like, they were perfectly cast in each person.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then, Cat Williams pops in, and like
Mhm.
there's some funny little bits throughout. And then the two of them are just, as the time gets closer and things get more risky and down to the wire, like they are just getting, more and more insane, and kind of there's a wedge being driven between them. So it was,
As it would with the pressure mounting.
yeah, no kidding. Like, yeah, I just enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I would tell somebody to watch it. Like, it was just funny.
It was, yeah, it was just a nice, decent movie. I will say it was nice that this movie was heavily featured with the cast being mostly Black.
Yeah,
Because even, for a future episode, I was trying to look for, like, Black leads, and they're out there, and they're on the streaming services, but they are just not pushed, like, you really have to dig for
I
them,
know.
which is, very unfortunate, so it's nice that this one was just kinda, like, really pushed in the forefront.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it was, like we said, a female buddy comedy, which we've seen a lot of. Like, we're just thinking of like the Tyler Perry comedy movies and stuff. Yeah, they'll be like with Medea, it's like family and stuff, but a lot of times they're male centric, or at least led by a male. And this was two Black women that were the leads, and
Mhm.
most of the other people around them were Black also. And yeah, it was just something a little bit different that we don't always see either.
I know, yeah, like I said, it's like I mean, I think most of the movies we've even done are, more popular movies, and they're just mostly white
Yeah,
people, and they're just super it's like immediately that's gonna be at the top of your search list. They're
right.
just pushing those all the time, and, yeah, so it is I mean, it's, like, hard to find even the other minority groups just trying to find movies that like I said, they're on there, but you have to dig for them.
Well, and okay, the leads, we can it's relatively easy to get some Black leads, or secondary characters. They're supporting, I guess. But to get, like, I don't know, ones, even just supporting actors that have a bigger role, or like they have like real personalities, like all the people at that apartment complex had like real depth to their character.
Right. They weren't just, like, a stereotypical, side character.
Yeah, like we actually got little tidbits about who they are and what they bring to the apartment complex and how it really is like a community. Like they really did a good job of building out some of those secondary characters more than they do in a lot of other films, and especially like ones where you're trying to get the minorities in there. You We've seen it a lot where they're just like, oh, just, they're there. We don't need to add much of a story more than that. They can just read their
Right.
couple lines.
We're getting our quota.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one didn't feel like that.
No, it didn't at all. So this one had, to just read the stats here, a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. So people really thought it was enjoyable, and a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. And this was an hour 37 minutes. So another pretty short one, which was nice.
Yeah, most of these, I know, I even made a point in my notes. I'm like, a short movie week.
Yeah. Oh, and we forgot to add that Maud Apatow makes the surprise.
And I was like, oh, hello.
She was one too when she came in. I'm like, what is she doing here? And then I had to actually look it up and make sure it was her.
I know, because it like looks like her, but I haven't really seen her in anything because I didn't watch. Wait, what else was she in?
Euphoria.
Yeah, but wasn't there something else?
Yeah, I mean, she definitely has been in, but I don't know if there's anything I've seen. Recently, King of Staten Island.
I feel like I watched her in something, but who knows? Anywho, but yeah, she's a cute girl.
Yeah, and yeah, she was good. I thought her role ended up being good in it too, like how she ended up being able to actually help. Like it was just a cute little role. So
yes,
I liked this one a lot. I thought it was a good little, exactly what it needed to be.
Yep. Fun, light, girly movie.
Yep. Enjoyed.
Yes. Oh, I had one more thing to add about news.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you saw, but they were doing a Love is Blind in Ohio, Columbus.
Oh.
But it sounds like it's already casted. And then I heard like there's a little comment that said they had to extend the search to Cleveland and Cincinnati because the Columbus people were too shallow.
Well, I can see it.
But that'd be kind of fun. I feel like Columbus is a good place to do that at, like kind of like a Midwestern, Midwestern, right?
Yeah, we are in the Midwest.
A Midwestern kind of, I know they did Chicago, but even more in that area.
You have way more of a likelihood of running into somebody at the bars in Columbus than you do in Chicago, that's for sure.
So anyway,
yeah, I didn't hear that actually.
So I'll definitely be watching.
Heck yeah! See if there's anybody we know.
I don't. What if somebody we know ends up on it? We don't even know because they wouldn't have the casting out yet.
Oh my god, we'd have to get him on the pod.
We would.
Our second ever interview.
Yes, but anywho.
Fun. I love that tidbit. We'll have to keep an eye out. It probably won't be until like 2028.
I know, because I think how they film it is they do 2 seasons back to back.
Oh, okay.
So like they'll do Columbus and then they must be doing somewhere else and then we'll see it, the next year. And they could even have the Columbus one be the second season that we see of it, so
literally could be.
Unless I'm wrong on how they filmed that, but I thought that's what they did.
Interesting. Well, I don't really have anything else to add for the moment. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up then. If you got this far and listened to us, why don't you just take an extra few seconds and give us a nice 5-star rating. If you have a couple more seconds, then give us a review. We would just love to see a nice review for us, 5 stars, please. And then tell your friends about us. We really need that word of mouth. That's so important for us to try and grow and continue to do our pod, which we love so much. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.